Hey, what's going on there, people? It's the Guitar Historian here with you today. So I thought it would be fun to look at all my gear. I know that's like a thing that other guitar channels do, but you know, my gear is not what I would call like anything to write home about. I don't have any vintage instruments. I don't have anything like that's really interesting, but I have done a lot of modifications to my instruments. So here is the first one. This here is a 95 Squier jazz bass that I've had for a very long time. Not since 95. I think I bought it used somewhere. And about 3 or 4 months ago, I decided to completely strip it out and really do a lot to it. So what I've done to it is I put in the EMG. Sorry if I'm blocking myself. The EMG J system. You can't see the bridge pickup right now because I have this ashtray cover on. But this entire thing is all one system. It comes all pre-done. So all you have to do is kind of plug in. There's no soldering required to it. And obviously there's a 9-volt battery in there. And it's an active bass. I also put, which you can't see, a real Fender bridge on it. Like a actual, you know, American standard Fender bridge. And I also shimmed the neck a little bit because the neck was kind of getting out of hand. So I put a very small amount of shims at the front, and it kind of pitched the neck back just a little bit. And it's really given me some a lot of relief. The neck is like really nice now. The only other thing cosmetically I did was I put a real Fender. This is a real Fender jazz bass tortoiseshell pickguard, like off the Fender website. So you know, I thought that looked a little bit nicer than some of the cheaper ones. 95 Squier jazz bass. Next up, I have a 2010 Squier Affinity Telly. So I haven't really done too much to this other than I did put a new pickguard on it, and I've kind of been using it as a 5-string open G Stones machine that I've used it for. I actually did a video with it recently, so it does the job. You know, the one thing that I always like about the Squiers, even the Affinities, is even though this isn't one of the lacquered fretboards, it has a really nice feel to it still. It's a just totally unlacquered open maple fretboard, and I actually think sometimes I prefer the open wood to having that lacquer on it sometimes, because that lacquer can get a little tacky, especially when you're really lathered up and you're going hard at it. But, you know, like I said, it does the job. And, you know, the Affinity line, even with the Squier, even though they're very affordable, is still good guitars. So let's keep moving on. Next up, I have my fairly new Squier Tele Deluxe. This is a Telecaster Deluxe. So if you look closely, you can actually see that it is a Strat style neck. It has the rounded heel at the bottom, and it has the 70s style headstock here. The Telecaster Deluxe story is that when CBS bought Fender, and they actually hired Seth Lover to make pickups, he came up with the wide range pickup, which has, you know, the 3 on each side design. They look a little bit different than the Gibson ones. And Seth Lover obviously is famous for designing the PAF humbucker for Gibson. But Fender stole them away in the 70s. And CBS also was doing some things to cut costs, which is like, you know, using the same neck for everything. And I believe they used this style neck on the Deluxe and the Custom. But Seth Lover designed this new wide range pickup, and it was pretty successful. It was considered the Les Paul killer. But the one thing about it that is much different than the Les Paul is it's extremely light, and it has a Fender neck, which is usually a little bit more playable, in my opinion, and a little bit easier on the hand. But as far as mods with this one, what I did was actually the first time ever soldering a pickup in is this is actually a Fender pickup. This is still a Squier one. I'm still waiting for a good price on this, but I got a really good price on this Fender pickup, so I threw it in the bridge. I also put Telecaster dome style knobs on there, which originally they'd come with chat. And the only other thing I did to it is I put a Graphtec Tusk XL string tree on there, because string trees I've noticed with Fenders, and especially the cheaper Squiers, is a point of breakage a lot of times for me. So I always like to get those Graph Tech ones on there. They lubricate a lot better. The string kind of glides over it better. So, but I think it's got a cool 70s vibe to it, and that's another one. Next up is my current favorite modded guitar. Some of you who have been subscribed to me for some time may remember that I actually won this guitar from Robert Baker. He was doing one of his giveaways, and I won this guitar, and I'll flash up a picture of how this guitar looked new. As you can see, it had a white pickguard on it, so it was kind of a white on white look to it, and had the Squire bridge and everything. But I have modded it quite a bit. And the first thing I did was I put this Bakelite black pickguard on it, which is the same material that they used back in the early 50s for the Blackguard Tellys, that early Bakelite look. I got one of those to kind of break up the monotony of the all-white look. I got better Fender dome knobs on there. And I also got the real Fender with brass saddles bridge here. The big ticket item on here, though, is this. It's actually a Seymour Duncan Broadcaster pickup. It's made to the same specifications as the Broadcaster guitar, which is more period correct to the Esquire, the early 50s looks and everything. So I've kind of turned this into a vintage rock machine, kind of early days of rock and early days of electric guitar machine, and it has not disappointed. But it's only got one pickup. And it's just in a different way. It's versatile, you know. So this is actually my favorite guitar right now. It's so fun to play. It's so easy. You just lock in a good tone and you just forget it and you just play it. And this is probably my favorite one that came out. Even though from the standpoint of number of mods, it's not even close to the last guitar we're going to look at. But we got a couple more before we get there. Of course, we got my 2020 player Strat. So I actually haven't done a whole lot to this guitar. It's not really too much needed. I am thinking about getting a Shawbucker to put in here, but honestly, the pickups are nice. They sound pretty good already, and I'm able to, you know, get a really nice Strat tone out of this, and I play it all the time. Even though I say that the Esquire is my favorite right now, it changes, and every time I want to, like, kind of do a bunch of different styles, I pick this up, because having the HSS configuration gives you so many tonal possibilities. The only thing I did with this is I put the locking tuners on the back. I put the Graph Tech Tusk nut on there, just like I did with the other ones. And I also decked the bridge here, so I put in extra strings in the back. If you know stock, they'll come with 3 springs, but I basically took the whammy bar out and I made the bridge flush to the body to give it more sustain. And I don't really use the tremolo bar anyway, so it's more or less a hardtail Strat now. Nice Tide Pool color. Not Lake Placid blue, not Daphne blue. It's called Tide Pool. It does have a little bit of a greenish tinge to it, but I definitely like it. I dig it, man. And, you know, it's a Strat. Can't go wrong. All right, finally, the work in progress. It's still in progress, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is Horus, everybody. Spelled Horus like H-O-R-A-C-E, but with the Eye of Horus or Eye of Ra or whoever you look at. So this guitar has gone through some things in the last couple of months. So basically, I'd had it down, and I'll flash some pictures up to a black and gold kind of look to it. I had different knobs on it. I had a black bridge and everything, and obviously I have black Steinberger gearless tuners on there, which you can see a video on those that I did up here. If you're interested, I know that they look kind of wacky to some people, but they're really amazing tuners. But originally I'd had this whole like black, you know, metal and black and cream colored plastic, everything matched. But what I found out with the bridge was that these posts, which have, there's a ground wire that goes through from over here, and it goes through underneath this post. The post goes all the way down into the body, and it presses down on the ground wire and completes the ground loop. The problem is, what I didn't realize is that the new posts actually were about a 1/4 inch shorter. So they didn't go all the way into the body when you screwed it down. So the ground wire wasn't being contacted. So basically I had this horrible buzz that I was trying to figure out for a long time. Finally, I pulled both of the things out and I looked at them and I was like, oh crap, they're a totally different size. They fit from a thread standpoint, but they didn't go all the way down into the body. So I had to put the original bridge back on. So that's like cosmetically, that's the only thing. And then once I put the chrome bridge back on, I was like, I just threw the original knobs on here. These are the stock factory knobs for the Epiphone Les Paul Traditional Pro came with. The big thing in this is that I actually have Wolf Tone pickups in here. Wolf Tone is a smaller pickup maker out of the Seattle, Washington area. And I met him on Facebook, and I figured, you know, he was doing a sale for COVID, and they were actually pretty reasonably priced. So I figured I would go with him. Tons of videos on his website, people playing through them, and they're just amazing. Very well made, very quality made pickups. And I have what's called a Dr. Vintage in the neck, which is kind of, I guess, more like a PAF. And a Marshall head in the bridge, which is more of a hotter version of the humbucker. So a little bit later version of it, something that you would probably see kind of like Jimmy Page play. So this guitar has gone through a lot of things, and eventually I'm going to put all the black back on, but I need to find a bridge that actually fits and everything is good. But I obviously wanted to play it while I'm waiting for that, so I put it all back together, and right now this is the way it sits. So it looks a little mismatched in my opinion. Some people will look at it and be like, what are you talking about, man? It looks great. Yeah, it looks good, but I just have a vision for it, and eventually, you know, I'm going to get there. But otherwise, it's a great playing guitar. You know, Epiphone Les Pauls are just great. This one doesn't feel like it has too much weight relief going on, which I like. I like hefty Les Pauls. I got all these Fenders and Squires over here that are, you know, really light, and I want a hefty, heavy guitar that I can, you know, kind of feel the sustain and feel like it has a more resonance to it. And that's what you're looking for with Les Pauls, a darker, more resonant tone, and that's what this gives you. So it's a great playing guitar, obviously, and, you know, there's really no way to go wrong with Epis the last, you know, few years. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions in the comments, please, you know, reach out. If you're wondering about, you know, soldering, I'm certainly no expert. There are a couple of things regarding each of these mods that I've done that, you know, little challenges that I came across that I can maybe warn you about if you're thinking about using the same equipment or using the same types of pickups or things of that nature. So, yeah, give me a shout, please, and we can talk about it. Otherwise, that's kind of like a look at all of my electric gear. And hopefully you enjoyed, and it wasn't just a, you know, 15-minute video of me just warbling the whole time, which is really what it was. But maybe you got something out of it. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.